Thanks for listening to the AI for Sales podcast with host Chad Burmeister. This episode is brought to you by BDR.ai, Nooks.ai, and ZoomInfo, the go-to market intelligence platform. Nooks.ai is the agent workspace for intelligent outbound. By pairing human judgment with AI execution, reps focus on relationships, not busy work. Join Intercom, Deal, and over 1,200 customers who use Nooks AI dialing, coaching, or multi-channel AI sequencing to double their pipeline. And ZoomInfo gives your revenue teams the data and insights they need to find, engage, and win their best customers, helping you move faster, work smarter, and grow revenue at scale. Want an introduction to one of our sponsors? Head to www.scr.ai/intro and unlock your direct line to more closable pipeline, powered by AI. Until next time, keep leading the AI for sales revolution, and remember, in sales, time kills deals. But in AI for sales, AI kills time.
Welcome back to another AI for Sales podcast. I am Chad Burmeister, your host, and it is 2026. Can you believe it? Absolutely amazing. I am here today with a new friend from down under in Australia. And I think they say it a little bit differently than I say it. Australia is probably the way you try to say it. I remember when I lived in New Zealand when I was 20 years old, and there was even a slight difference between Australia and New Zealand. But I had it way back then, but nowadays, not so much. Times roll by. But I'm so glad to be here today with Josh Hill. Joshua Hill is the VP of HR at Tier 11, and he's the co-founder of Super Hired and Super Trained. And these are .ai's, and you're speaking my language. So Josh, thanks for being here today.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
So is it Australia? Is it Australia? Is it Aussie? Like, how do you say it?
I say Oz because it's shorter, and Australians love to shorten words. We love to cut to the chase when we speak, so we kind of slur and things kind of become one. So I'll try and speak very clearly so people can understand. But the whole New Zealand Australia dynamic, I think it's probably similar to like Canada, USA, where there's we're friends, we're neighbors, but we speak differently. There's nuances. If you call a New Zealander Australian or think they're Aussie, they won't. They'll push back for sure.
Yes, they will. Yes, they will. And I had it down for a while. I also noticed that the tone of voice, when I'm in America, I tend to raise my decibels a little bit. And when I went to New Zealand, I didn't want to stick out of the crowd. So when I go to the bar, I'd say, "Oh, I have a steiny, mate." And I'd learn to kind of lower my tone a little bit.
Yeah, that's right. Just fit in. Yeah, that's so true. It's the American accent is like more in the throat, I find. So it's a bit higher pitched. Yeah.
So I'm sure there's an AI for this by now, so I'll have to check into that. But So let's dig in. I love it because Australia always seems to be a little bit ahead of the curve when it comes to new technologies. I've known this for a decade or so. I had a CEO at a company, and he said, "Chad, let me tell you," his name was Ivers. And he always said to me, "Chad, in Australia, we always roll new technologies out before the rest of the world. Like we're a beta test." And at least I believed him when he told me. So if that's true or not, I don't know. But I suspect you're getting your teeth, you're cutting your teeth on AI these days. What are you seeing with AI being deployed in terms of the customer experience? What's the value to the customer?
Right. Well, my customers predominantly are employees, and that's kind of the way I view the work experience. And I've gone through that paradigm shift over the last year or two after reading a couple of product management books, which had nothing to do with HR, but kind of everything to do with HR after I'd read them, because I was like, hang on, the same rigor that's applied to external facing customers with how we do discovery, how we build products, how we connect with them, how we understand their needs, their pain points, their desires, and then build solutions from there. Why don't we apply that same methodology to our internal customers, which are our employees, which arguably are the most important people in a business, because you can't achieve anything, you can't deliver a service, you can't build products without humans. Ultimately now, though, I think what I'm seeing when it comes to the experience of customers and AI, it's a supercharger. It's like whatever principles you have, whatever processes, systems, whatever dysfunctions you have in a company or a team, you're adding a supercharger to it. And that can be dangerous. It can also be very powerful. But I think when AI generally, the way I view it is a tool that needs to be wielded very intentionally and with respect. Because if you wield it in a manner that is exacerbating things that are broken, or from broken first principles, then you're just going to create a whole lot of hurt. So my methodology when it comes to our internal customers, so employees at Tier 11, this digital marketing agency that I work at, I view it as a very, very helpful companion to the discovery that I do internally with our employees to build products as a HR function. So, for example, the way that would look would be we adopt this process called continuous discovery, where myself and the HR team are continually interviewing our customers in a product frame to determine how is their work experience, how is their work product that they're subscribing to, where are the gaps in expectations of what they originally signed up to and what they're getting at work, how is their expectation of work changing, what they want from work, all of these things, what's stopping them from doing their best work. And we use AI to help us sift through and connect dots and make sense of a lot of data, because that's where I think AI is very, very good right now. I mean, all these generative tools that are out, automation, which has existed for a while, but is very, very powerful when you start compounding it with agentic systems and other types of generative tools. So we use it more of like a sidekick, but it's a very, very powerful sidekick, because the amount of volume of data you collect when you start interviewing people and start producing all of this information is very hard to tackle as a human, especially if you've got a small HR team. So having a companionship where you can very easily retrieve information, connect dots, compile reports, create artifacts like media, assets to help managers and leaders. And it's really been, over the last 12 to 24 months, a supercharger, but we've been very intentional in, okay, don't even involve AI yet until we get the principles right of how we want to govern and run the capability. Then we add it to it, not the other way around.
Yeah, that makes me think of when I was leading sales and marketing for a company called Connect and Sell. We accelerated the ability for humans to have 10 times more sales conversations because it dialed 5 people at a time. And you would think every salespeople would do better, but it wasn't the case, because if you didn't have a good list, you weren't calling the right people, or the rep wasn't good on the phone. There were 3 variables to that equation: bad list, bad rep, bad talk track. You could really, we called it don't accelerate, suck.
Yeah.
Because you can really just as easily accelerate a bad outcome than you could accelerate a good outcome. And what you're talking about reminds me of that, what we saw. And unfortunately, there's a large percentage of the population that was just, if you accelerated that group of people, they weren't going to get good outcomes, and they weren't really purpose built to be phone sellers and making calls,
100%. Yeah. And I think this is a common pattern across every industry, every team, every role. Every organization has the ability now to build products quickly, to move quickly. Professionals, independents, like just you, just me, just in our workflow, can move so quickly now. So speed is not a problem. Like creating things, building things, outputting stuff is not a problem, and it will not be a problem. The issue is that it's sexy and it hits this spot that makes us feel like we're making progress. It releases dopamine. It makes us feel like we've accomplished something when we ship stuff. The problem is shipping velocity, creating stuff, isn't a measure of getting closer to the vision that you've got, or the strategic objectives that you need to complete, or even the amount of the work that you need to get in a day. If you tick it off quickly, it's not indicative of quality. So the way I'm approaching this particularly in hiring at the moment, amongst the entirety of HR, is so focused on getting back to analog forms of discovery and data collection and slowing things down, which I call just simply discovery. I mean, I say that word at least 50 times a day, right? Like, people want to move so quickly that they skip the critical thinking, they skip the deep connections with other people, the research, the qualitative information that's so necessary to understand all this emotional nuance that exists that we gloss over because we think AI knows it all, which it does not. So I think the call for me at the moment is really getting back to first principles with whatever we're doing, whether it's creating an SOP, building a team, shipping a product. Like, it doesn't matter. It could even be in your personal life. Like, you need to work on a relationship, that you've got with a mate you've fallen out with, right? Like, rushing straight to a result or making assumptions is essentially the same pitfall. Like, taking the time to have a connection with everything that's around you and be observant and be connected, I think is the secret sauce. Because when you get that right, then you add AI to it. That's when you're this unstoppable superpower, because you're connecting the whole paradigm.
Mm-hmm. I remember a customer of mine maybe 5 years ago was using LinkedIn technology, AI, basically to connect with new candidates, and they were able to really accelerate their candidate process as a result. Is what areas are you leveraging AI in the recruiting process? Is it to get new candidates? Is it to, like you said, do deeper discovery, coaching of calls? How do you intertwine it? Obviously, the name implies super hired and super trained AI. I have to believe that it's built right into that software as well.
Yes, that's right. So the approach that we've taken with building technology has been subordinate, like second order, to making sure that we get the approach and the methodology right without the tech, right? Like, it's like, put the technology aside, put the superpower aside. What is broken with hiring? What is broken with recruitment? What is flawed in this process? And what are the outcomes that recruiting should be achieving in the first place? How do we fix that from first principles, and then see what opportunities exist to move faster, do it better, do it to a higher standard? So if you take a step back and look at hiring as it exists today, there's a few things that are fundamentally broken. First of all, I think the fact that we use a resume and a CV is a good demonstration of just how surface level a lot of the data collection is when we're looking at making very, very important decisions, which is, I'm going to fundamentally uproot someone's life and invite them into a company which they know nothing about, a complete context that they've never experienced, which is unique. And I'm going to invite someone into this experience, and I also know not much about them. They are unique. And I'm going to invite someone in, and we're just going to see how it goes. And the only tools that I have right now in this day and age, and what's been institutionalized, is the use of a one-pager, a CV, a document that is very surface level. It's inherently biased because it's created by one party, and it lacks all sorts of information regarding the context of that person and how they've been previously employed. Also doesn't contain any information about what they want from work at the core, like what actually motivates them. So there's a lot of gaps in the screening process and what data is used to determine initial fit. And you may argue, well, that's what the interviews are for. Sure. Even interviews are shown to be not deep enough, not comprehensive enough in ascertaining what someone needs at that point in life, what someone wants at that point in their life, what they wanted to subscribe to, what work product they really want to be part of. And a lot of interviews are not structured by best practice. A lot of people that have been trained and that preach that interviews are the gold standard are not aware of the fact, or they turn a blind eye to the fact that most hiring managers are not trained. Most people that do interviews are not trained. So that's not the reality being lived. Usually there's a lot of pressure, a time crunch to get people in very quickly to fulfill a need that should have been fulfilled yesterday. So we're skipping discovery. We're relying on very surface level signals to determine fit. And then we kind of wonder at the end of it all why someone after a few weeks turns out to be a bad hire. And then we blame the person. Oh, they weren't the right fit. We need to find someone that's better. This is symptomatic of a lack of discovery. And it's symptomatic of old institutionalized ways of thinking for a world that's completely changed, right? We're no longer in an assembly line factory environment where it's monkey see, monkey do, I need to put components together. We live now in a very messy, very dynamic, very turbulent, very fast moving environment where work is complex and it requires people to come together. It's emotional. It's always changing via technology. So the recruitment process needs to be something that's as comprehensive, as complex. I'm not saying that it needs to take a lot of time. What I'm saying is that it needs to be more rigorous in understanding what is the context of the company, like the actual nuance of the company from every level, the team, the department, the company, the managers, the leaders, the peers, the type of work, how it ebbs and flows throughout the year, like every single data point that you can map, you should be trying to. And then you should be trying to do that for the candidate as well, because that's just one side of the matchmaking, right? The company is one side of it. The candidate pool, every single one of those people is a collection of data points that is completely unique, because we are humans, we are completely unique. So the challenge then becomes, if we accept that hiring is matchmaking, and the essence of matchmaking is data and matching data, how do we facilitate experiences where we can discover that data in a fun, intuitive, lovable way that's engaging, where companies want to provide that information, employees, candidates, contractors, whoever they are, want to provide their information. And once we have those data points, we can then have a more comprehensive view of fit when we're looking at sourcing, when we're looking at interviews, when we're looking at nurturing relationships across candidates. And so that's kind of what we're tackling at the moment. It's how do we work with companies to get embedded into their systems, their processes, their culture very quickly, to orient ourselves to what is this context throughout the entirety of the company, and what do they really need and what are they looking for? And then how do we facilitate that same experience with humans who are looking for a role or who may not be looking? And we take them on a journey when we're really understanding them at the core and what they want.
Yeah, love it.
When we have that data.
I remember meeting a guy named Kevin Gaither, and before he became the SVP of sales for Career Builder, he was Kevin Gaither, the guy who wasn't the SVP of Career Builder, and he didn't know how to interview people for a job very effectively, as most managers go into a role and don't know how to interview. And so his outcomes were flip a coin, and it would be 50% good, 50% terrible, maybe less than 50%. Right. And it was like, my gut feeling doesn't work very well. So what do I do? And I remember what he did is he read at least 10, maybe 20 books on interviewing the right way. And then what he did is he ended up putting together talks on this, and he would go around, and he ended up becoming the SVP of sales because of his ability to hire effectively. I mean, he did a lot more than just hiring effectively, but let's be honest, that was one of his superpowers, was how do I hire effectively? And so if you can build what Kevin Gaither learned how to do over a career of 15, 20 years into an AI so that everybody can hire like Kevin Gaither and his employees did and his managers, then that's brilliant. So I love what you're doing. It's great.
Nooks.ai is the agent workspace for intelligent outbound. By pairing human judgment with AI execution, reps focus on relationships, not busy work. Join Intercom, Deal, and over 1,200 customers who use Nook's AI dialing, coaching, or multi-channel AI sequencing to double their pipeline.
Yeah, and AI is an important piece of this process, right? Because, like I mentioned earlier, there's a lot of data, there's a lot of information when you're doing this depth of discovery, and the ability to organize that data, make sense of it, connect the dots, use it as a superpower is incredibly important. Because I think the reason why there's been an aversion to go this deep in recruiting in the past or even presently is because it's just the sheer amount of resources it takes to track all that information, to make sense of it, to leverage it. It's a big beast. And I think if we can develop a level of agentic companionship and automation that helps with this data, that still, and this is the vision that we have really, it still puts a human at the front of this as a relationship building activity. I see a lot of companies right now in this space that are leveraging, I think, in my opinion, artificial intelligence too heavily by putting it at the front and making it human in the loop as opposed to AI in the loop. Building relationships, doing deep discovery with other humans should be a human-led activity. I think it can be AI augmented, but it should be human-led. It's like sales.
You're right. It's funny you say that because I built this 18-question deep dive based on NLP, neuro-linguistic programming. What do you want? What will having it do for you? Who do you want it with? What time frame? All of these really deep psychology-based questions that get you to understand what is it that you want, because most people don't understand even what they want. They're on the surface. Well, I want a job in sales, or I want a BDR, or I want to manage a sales team. Why do you want it? Who do you want it with? And if you can get beneath the levels of the surface, I've gone through that exercise with probably 10 to 12 people. And the paragraph that the AI spits back to them, they're like, wow, this word for word helps me understand. And to your point, I thought I could just give it to the rep and have them fill it out and do it with the bot. But that didn't work that way. It worked when I had the human conversation with them powered by the AI in the background.
It's really interesting. You've actually, I think, word for word explained a tool that we built called Work Drivers, which is our attempt at trying to balance this tension between using and building tools that help extract and mine that information in a fun and engaging way, but not overbearing to the point where the user of the tool feels as if the data is going to waste, or that it's I feel like there's a ceiling, and I'm yet to prove this hypothesis truly, but I feel like there's a ceiling that humans are willing to share when it comes to emotions and vulnerability and depth. When it comes to AI, I feel like there's a ceiling that exists there, and that may change in the future. That may change as AI becomes less distinguishable from humans. But right now there's that bias, and there's a lot of AI slop. There's a lot of AI hesitancy going around, and I think it's going to get worse. And my prediction is, particularly in instances where people need to be vulnerable, I have a feeling that there is going to be an aversion that develops, and there's going to be a very clear split of cohorts of people that are willing and early adopters and just willing to go down the tech route and sell their soul. The same type of people that are willing to get like 50 chips implanted in them, right? They're just like, they don't care. Yeah. They're all tech. But I think the majority of humans, I think we have this inherent yearning for connection with other humans, because we are animals, emotional beings at the end of the day.
Well, and it's funny because it's why I killed the product. It wasn't even a product. I just built it in GPT, and it was a custom GPT with a lot of guardrails. But what I learned after 10 of these interviews is that they really shared a glimpse to their soul. And I was like, you know what? If that got in the wrong hands, I need to be careful with who has access to that information about these individuals.
Mm, mm,
And I'm not a developer. I don't, I have a day job. I'm not here to develop anything. I'm just using this to coach my reps. So I
mm,
didn't want to take the time to go build that. But companies like yours, I thought, okay, if you can build enterprise class software that keeps it, how do you say, generic, right? You don't put, you got to make sure it's decoupled. Like Josh
mm.
Hill isn't equal to this set of emotional data and all this information, so that if it got into the wrong hands, someone could really come in and try to steal all
Yeah,
your money, for example.
I, I
Yeah,
I agree. I think security and keeping and privacy is very important. I mean,
yeah, it's very important.
particularly if you're really trying to get to the core of what people want from work, in order to get there, and we're finding this with our recruiters are turning less into recruiters and more into like some part recruiter, some part therapist, some part like career coach, some part
Mhm.
just listener, some part product manager. They're sitting on these calls now, and we front load candidates with so much information about the role, utter transparency and polarity, again helped with AI because we can create stuff like this now. So when candidates get on that initial discovery call, and this may be the same in sales actually, we're priming these prospects with so much clarity and data and information, because you simply can now. You can create amazing experiences at the top of the funnel before you've even got on a call with people, where they come to the call so informed that it paves the way to ask much deeper level questions and have a much deeper and richer conversation. Like that work drivers discovery exercise I was talking to you about. We do that ahead of the first call, and it only takes the user 20 minutes, but we designed it in a way it's gamified, it's fun, it's engaging, and candidates actually get value from it. It's not an extraction from them like, oh, I have to give you this. It's, wow, this is going to be beneficial for me. And it walks them through an exercise where they basically rank and rate different jobs to be done, different priorities of what they want from work. Do I value compensation and benefits over risk? Do I value team collaboration over independence? So everyone has a very unique profile of how these things are distributed. And after they do that, we use AI to give them a synopsis of their results. And it's not just repeating and regurgitating the results back to them and telling them who they are. It's helping them understand and helping them do deeper introspection on their results so they can ask themselves more questions. And like you said, a lot of people don't know what they want. It's amazing. Like, even I talk to my partner quite regularly who's not very happy with her job. She's like, oh, I really want to work somewhere else. Like, I don't know what I want. I'm like, just take the work drivers exercise. She's like, oh yeah, but I'm afraid of what it's going to tell me. And I'm like, well, just that doesn't make any sense. But
Mhm.
this it's indicative of people are a lot of people don't know what they want, because they don't know what they don't know. But taking steps towards that self-reflection and that self-discovery is very important, because it opens up doors to more questions that you can ask yourself, and that our recruiters are now guiding people through that process. They're getting
Yeah,
on calls with
that's excellent.
people.
I mean, life can become easier. I call it frictionless living, right? Like maybe it's more money, maybe it's less money. It doesn't really matter. It's just what do you enjoy? What gets you up in the morning, and what's your
Yeah,
passion? I think Gary Vee
and it's
talks about that. He's like, you can make $60,000 a year and be extremely happy, and the guy who makes
100%.
$600,000 a year could be extremely sad.
Yeah, that's right. And it's just so dynamic as well. It changes. Like, if I was to take this assessment today, I guarantee you in 12 months, there'll be nuances, there'll be things that have changed depending on my circumstances. And looking at the results is incredible. The distribution is not, is, there's some correlation between certain things, but the main takeaway after running like 100 or so of these, it's just the sheer distribution of just how different everyone is, and how everybody wants different things from work. Nobody is the same. And we treat management, leadership, we treat recruiting process like some cookie cutter system that can just be applied one and for all. And it's just so not the appropriate way to do that. It needs to be bespoke. It needs to be tailored. It needs to be about doing the discovery to understand who am I talking to, who's in front of me, and is the context of this company the right fit for the context of this human that I have in front of me. And that's the matchmaking component that's missing. And it's been missing for some time. And we're at risk of going down a path where it's getting more and more drowned out with these AI tools. It's very hard to find people these days that have good things to say about recruiting processes, or a candidate that's had a good experience getting hired, or just generally.
How would someone try this technology out? Sounds like you probably have it embedded in your tier 11 system, and then you also make it available on the marketplace. Is that how it works?
Yeah, so we're using it. We're using this exercise in-house and for our clients. But I can give you a link and anyone can sign up. I haven't gone to market or haven't really pushed it, but I'll give you the link and you can do it yourself, and your listeners can get on and do it. It takes about 30 minutes, and they will get something out of it. They definitely will. Everyone gets something out of it that goes through it, and this is the important thing, I think, to anyone that's wanting to get into this tech and build things for other people. It needs to have inherent value for the user, right? Like, obviously, and it's about creating win-wins. When people do this exercise, it gives super high, very valuable data because it facilitates the matchmaking, and it allows us to be that middle person that can then gather that data and go find a company in which there could be a potential match. The challenge is, how do you mine this information from people in a way where they trust you, they see value in it for themselves, and they're not just going to look at it and be like, oh, another personality test where, oh, cool, it gives me some words, and then, what am I actually going to do with that? So we've tried to be very intentional going forward when we develop this type of technology, where it's agnostic of everything. Like, people can just do it and it gives them value, and it doesn't matter whether they're looking to get a job or not. But the ultimate vision is that people can do these types of exercises, can talk to these people and build this collective ecosystem of data and information on themselves, where they can then engage with it in a variety of all sorts of manners, like to help them as a career coach, to help them prepare for interviews, to help them refine materials, or even analyze job postings to see if, what would be the gaps, potential or perceived gaps. Knowing me as a candidate, and I'm sharing it with the likely opportunities, it may say, look, I've done some deep research on this company and this opportunity. If you were going to go for this, based on the job description, everything, here are some likely points of friction or things that you would want to dive in on. And here are the questions I would ask when you engage with the hiring manager. And also, here's your likely salary, things like that. I think giving more power back to people when it comes to that dynamic between companies hiring and who's in the job market.
That's excellent. I love it. Last question I'm going to ask, and that is, as you see new technologies that are out there, is there anything that's on the horizon that you're excited about, or maybe something that you've deployed internally that you're using that you'd like to share?
Yes, we have. This is specifically for recruiters in its first instance, but we're releasing a platform in a few months which helps recruiting teams and recruiters conduct this methodology in their own companies, whether they're freelancers or in-house, or they're working for a recruiting agency. It will guide them through the ability to do this discovery, to input all these data points into the tool, and then that tool is going to then be able to plug into applicant tracking systems and LinkedIn Recruiter and other sourcing methods to enable you to do a bit more discovery-led hiring inside of a tool. So we're really keen to release that, and it's going to be super exciting. And that's versions is like step one of like, where this tool could go. But the ultimate principle is, how do we build experiences for people where they're willing to share this information, and then connecting the dots, and then making sure that humans are the ones leading the exchange of bringing people together.
Love it. Well, and I love what you concluded with, humans leading the exchange, because that's, I think, where that's what we continue to conclude on in 300 of these shows that I've done over the years. Most of it concludes, it's where all the arrows are pointing, that we need to remember that it's human led and AI assisted, augmented, accelerated.
Yeah.
So
100%.
Well, Josh, it's been a pleasure to have you on the show today. Thanks for being here so early your time, 6:30 a.m. Oz time. So thanks for being here. We've been talking with Josh Hill, the VP of HR at Tier 11, and also co-founder of Super Hired and Super Trained. You can find it at superhired.ai and I believe supertrained.ai, correct? And Tier 11, we'll put the links in the show notes as well. Thanks everybody for joining, and thank you, Josh.
Thanks, Chad. Great chat. Thank you.
Thanks for listening to the AI for Sales podcast with host Chad Burmeister. This episode is brought to you by BDR.ai, Nooks.ai, and ZoomInfo, the go-to market intelligence platform. Nooks.ai is the agent workspace for intelligent outbound. By pairing human judgment with AI execution, reps focus on relationships, not busy work. Join HubSpot, Deal, and over 1,200 customers who use Nook's multi-channel AI sequencing to double their pipeline. And ZoomInfo gives your revenue teams the data and insights they need to find, engage, and win their best customers, helping you move faster, work smarter, and grow revenue at scale. Want an introduction to one of our sponsors? Head to www.scr.ai/intro and unlock your direct line to more closable pipeline, powered by AI. Until next time, keep leading the AI for sales revolution, and remember, in sales, time kills deals. But in AI for sales, AI kills time.